Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the dinosaurs led by Bird, facing off against Nurgle, who shall be helmed by Maximillionaire here on the road to Talabheim. A fairly open map, certainly nice for some dinosaur shooting, but it is going to be the solar engine build. So solar engines are extremely fun, a very tricky unit to pull off. Basically, it has this big wind-up ability here, the burning alignment, which is a beam that just moves very slowly. It's kind of like that scene in Austin Powers where the guy gets run over by the steamroller, but if it does get you, it does a lot of damage, has 100% armor piercing value, does also do fire damage and magic damage, all of which are very good against Nurgle. And Nurgle is one of the slower factions in the game, so if it's going to work against anyone, it's going to be Big Papa Nurgle. So we got Tehenowin here. He's got Flock of Doom, which is going to be his primary outlet of damage, and then does also have 2 charges of the Burning Alignment. And then we have a second Ancient Stegodon here with the Engine of the Gods, which also does have 2 charges of the Burning Alignment. So going to be 4 of those in total. And these bad boys do also have, I believe, a ward save ability. Yeah, they give a ward save to nearby allies, which is kind of cool. So battle line's going to be Red Crested Skinks. A decent choice. They can certainly do a little bit of damage against Nurgle armor. And then it's going to be 2 big solar engines and a vanguard here of Skink Skirmishers. These guys are going to be rolling up towards Objective Uno. And yeah, always good to grab these objectives before big, slow Nurgle can get there. Now, looking at the army of Maximillionaire, going to be playing the very classic Nurgle playstyle of going wide, bringing a ton of heavy armored HP, so 9,000 HP. Chosen have 11,400, and basically spell spamming. So you're going to be spamming Curse of the Leper, as well as Stream of Corruption, and every single time you cast one of these spells, it's going to be triggering the Children of Nurgle lore passive, healing your entire army for a pretty healthy percentage of its HP. So the battle is on, ladies and gentlemen. Dinosaur is going to be securing the objectives out of the gates, as is expected, and Nurgle going to be calling in Kha'Zix the Befouled. One of the better characters in the game, honestly. Fast, hard-hitting, he regenerates, does poison damage, and is an absolute menace at 6,100 HP on Kha'Zix. I know this is I sound like a tale as old as time, but Karl Franz only has 500 more HP than this guy, and he's riding an Imperial Griffin, I'm just saying. All right, so Skink Skirmishers up and poking, Nurgle getting ready to press the objectives, Nurglings being called into the backside just for capture weight, and here comes the Stream of Corruption. Not a bad cast, able to get the Skirmishers as well as the Red Crested Skinks, but is it really worth it to cast a spell before you're fighting and start taking damage for the army-wide healing? I guess some of his units were a little bit damaged, but Lizard Moses going to be diving in there. He's got his 10 Commandments, going to be dropping it like it's hot on these warriors, and we do see Kha'Zix the Befouled moving in with his Dread Sword, the Sword of Filth, prison shanking the dinosaur, and maybe forcing him back. Now, I don't think we're going to be seeing a solar engine call-in yet. He's going to want to wait for the battle to be more chaotic, because right now, this is the hardest time in a game to catch people. Slipping is when they're, not a whole lot going on. They can focus on one area. When the battle becomes more chaotic is when you want to drop those big, fat, erect nukes. And dropping 2 of them at the same time could certainly be good to try and catch your opponent slipping there. Red Crested Skinks getting in, honestly not doing bad against the Chaos Warriors, but obviously there is an Ancient Stegodon in there doing some damage. Really good call-in, by the way, the Cohort of Waddle. That is a brilliant choice. And the Cohort of Sotek going to be getting intercepted by some Chosen here, and most likely having a very bad time. Chosen just have an insane stat line, even the great weapons. But the Nurgle infantry in the front getting bowled over by the double Ancient Stegodon, and yeah, Nurgle's anti-large has always been one of the weaker elements of the roster. Of course, Marauder Horsemen work, Plague Ogres are alright, and then you do have Rot Knights. I would imagine that Max is going to be saving up for some Rot Knights, looking at his current supplies. Objective situation, all 3 are in the clutches of the old ones. Oh god, give it to us, precious. Yes, the Engine of the Gods. And look at that, Max moves forward to try and dodge it into the enemy unit. But there we go, a little Scorched Earth, and he does mostly dodge that. Oh, but it keeps going. Did it get the other one? Not quite. All right, it tickled him a little bit, not terrible. But here comes the second Engine of the Gods on the Chosen, and I don't know if Max is paying attention there. Oh god, the Chosen get cooked up. Losing a fair amount of their HP. Now, that ability, in my opinion, should do like a little bit more damage. If you just stand there and get run over by the 1 mile per hour steamroller, you deserve to take a little bit more damage for sure. I mean, I'm not, maybe like 30-40% more damage. I'm not talking like double, but yeah, a little bit more. That ability, it's still not bad though. It did do some good damage against the Chosen. Now on this side, one of the biggest winners of the dinosaurs, of course, are the Cohort of Waddle. Huge armor-piercing magic damage. They're going to be able to punch through a lot of these units, and the value trading is kind of close, though. Max is grinding. Kha'Zix the Befouled kind of getting bullied a little bit by this big old Ancient Stegodon Engine of the Gods here, which I'm surprised about. Thought he would have a much better fight there, but there must have been some other variables as well. Lizard Moses quite damaged. I would imagine that we will see maybe a call-in of a Rev Crystal at some point. Curse of Onrare going down, going to be lowering the speed and stats of these units. As Kha'Zix gets his butt whooped by that Ancient Stegodon. Okay, that guy's certainly been eating his Wheaties here today. And Kha'Zix is going to be shaken and stirred and is going to be on the retreat. But now Max calling in the Rotting Riders as the value gets pulled a little bit closer. And Max is probably actually even on value considering his spell spam and his strategy that he's been using this game. But again, Flock of Doom usually doesn't track properly either on that value tracker. But here we do see the big dogs getting in, and the Rotting Riders are cutting through those Croxagores, but the dinosaurs do have their own response. Going to be calling in some heavy hitters in the back. It is going to be the Razordon Hunting Pack. Very nice. Not the Arwar, the Amazon Barbaras, but here we do have the Razordons, and they're doing some good damage. Lizard Moses getting in, and we do also see Red-Crested Skink saturated in, which do good AP damage. Able to punch through the Rotting Riders with the Croxagore support. But big problem for Nurgle, guys. Very far behind on points. Thankfully for them, in Maximillionaire, he was able to very effectively get Objective 1, but it looks like it could be flipped back right now. Good play as well from Nurgle, using Chaos Furies to chase down Razordons, and you just kind of chase them, and then as soon as your opponent calls in something to protect them, you retreat, you get back up in the sky, and then you just follow them around, stay behind them out of line of sight, and be a perpetual menace. It forces your opponent to allocate way more resources defending it than they really want to be doing. Oh god, Engine of the Gods, here it comes. Is it going to hit anything? Yeah. Oh man, that actually went through the Rotting Riders a little bit, tickled their pickle, and that is also going to be lighting everybody on fire here, which is going to be mitigating the healing. And then another one going down, and that one's pretty good. It goes through the Chosen, the Chaos Warriors, and that unit right there. So yeah, he's actually honestly getting good value, and I would imagine Lizard Moses is probably sitting over 2k value already. Let's go ahead and look. Yeah, 2,300 on Lizard Moses, and the other Solar Engine here going to be sitting at 2,400. That's the one that showed Kha'Zix who's boss. So Nurgle classically does suffer with big targets, but they can beat big targets by also going wide and just stuffing them back. But in this case, the Dinos have been able to kind of really control that battle and keep Nurgle off the objectives here. The Cohort of Fodl, I think, is pretty beat up. There's another Croxagore unit in here. Rotting Riders are all up on them, but the Velociraptors are coming in. Oh, dude, I love it. And also remember, all of these Velociraptor units are getting ward save from Lizard Moses. Now, it doesn't stack with the other Solar Engine, but still, 5 ward save is 5 ward save. $20 is $20. Not bad at all. Rotting Riders get folded up right there. Festus going to be turning on his Mortis Engine effect. Not going to be super effective against the characters, but it's trying. 2 flyers coming in. Razordon Hunting Pack going to be harried by the Chaos Furies as we do see Capture Weight coming in. The Dinos in a very dominant position. I think this game is pretty much over as we do see Nurgle finally get their back broken by the dreaded double Engine of the Gods here. And Festus the Leech Lord is going to be escorted off to the Shadow Realm, while the Cold One Spear Riders now going to be surging forward. And honestly, they do pretty well against Forsaken. GG, well played. What a freaking fun game that was, man. I love these like off-meta builds, and we've been getting so many. You guys have probably noticed a pattern of seeing the double Hydras, the Carnosaurs that Charix used a week ago, and it was against a really good player too. And here, I mean, yeah, that just goes to show the health of the game, right? Like, against high-level players, yes, Nurgle is a very weak faction. And honestly, I would say Dinosaurs are probably favored against Nurgle overall. Not like massively, but probably 55-45, 60-40, somewhere in that ballpark. But even still, I mean, that build worked great. 2,400, 2,600 on Moses. And the rest of the army, the Cohort of Fodl, a very good choice at 1,800. And for Max, he probably just needed some Rotted Horseman throwing axes in reserve. And he did have, anti-large via Rotting Riders, but when you go Festus, it really, really does make you weak to big stuff. Typically, you'll need like 2 big Nurgle characters. So yeah, maybe he cuts 1 Chosen and then gets an Exalted Hero with Kha'Zix, and then he probably would have been able to win some of those monster fights and maybe just cut like, 1 Forsaken or 2 Forsaken or 1 Forsaken and 1 Nurgling and get like 2 Marauder Horsemen. Then I think he would have been pretty safe here. Anyways, guys, GG, well played. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. And we will be back with some more sweet action soon. You guys take care of yourselves. And Nurgle bless. Well, hopefully not actually bless, but, the old ones bless. Yes, the old ones are probably a little bit more fortuitous for everyone. All right, guys, see you around. Take care of yourselves.